Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second day, the afternoon of the second day of the Maine Philanthropy Partners Conference in 2021. Today, I am joined by a fabulous group of students and faculty down in Biddeford who are involved with what's called Apex Youth Connection. And the name of their presentation today is called They Got This, and they're shifting power to youth. And so my name is Gabe Perkins. I'm Executive Director of Inland Woods and Trails up here in Bethel, Maine. And I have been serving on the Philanthropy Partners Conference Planning Committee for the last year or so to bring us all here to this day. And I just wanted to briefly orient you all to the day and the platform. Some of you may be joining for the first time. Some of you may have heard this in other sessions. But we have a chat function that's a general chat function session, so I can just type hello, and that is a good place for you to just do general chat. But then there's also in the upper right-hand corner a question and answer section. And that is for questions for any of our panelists over the course of our time together this afternoon. And then there's some polls that I think that Melissa and her crew are going to deploy for us. And I just want to remind everybody of community agreements, and those should be posted in the link to the session to sort of ground us all in what we're trying to achieve here as a group. And so I just real briefly want to introduce Carly Hutchings, Steve Thurlow, Melissa, is it Silly? Melissa Silly, great. Brady Cody, and is it Sagan or Sagan? Sagan?
It's Sagan.
Sagan, all right, and Sagan Garrett. And again, they're from the Apex Youth Connection, and I'm going to let them take it away. So thank you all for being here, and let's go.
All right, hi everyone. Gabe obviously introduced me already, but my name is Stephen. I'm going to be your moderator for today, so looking forward to it. I'm currently a senior at Biddeford High School, and am currently the ABF Youth Manager and Program Specialist here at Apex. I've been a part of Apex for, I want to say 5, 6 years, or no, 7 years, and I've been a part of ABF for 6 years. And I started here. I started here when a friend suggested just for me to come check it out, and it kind of grew from there. Started out as just a participant, went from just participant to being part of the job readiness program, went from being a part of the job readiness program to actually helping out the staff member that was in charge of the job readiness program. And now, a few years later after that, I'm currently a staff member, and I will be shipping out to basic for the National Guard at the end of June.
My name is Brady, and I'm a sophomore at Thornton, and I've been at Apex for.
My name is Carly. I'm also a sophomore at Thornton Academy, and I've been at Apex for going on 3 years now.
My name is Sagan. I'm a freshman.
All right, thank you guys for introducing yourselves. So these three are obviously our panel members. Like I said, I will be their moderator. And so, yeah, we thought it would help to see who's in the audience. So I believe in the polls. Yep, we do have. So if you guys could go to the polls, or to the poll. Our first question in there is, who in the group works directly with youth? Wait for that to.
Right, 71% work directly with you.
70%
do not.
1% and they do. Okay. Cool. That's definitely. It's really. Oh, it just ended. Yeah. Yeah. That's really interesting to see. All right. Next, who of you have you ever? Wait. Let me make sure I'm making this right. Who of you have ever given a job or task to a team that is usually done by staff? And I will wait for that to circle in. And that should be posted now. What's up? That is actually 85%, almost 86% have given a job or a task usually performed by adults too. That's a really interesting result. All right. So those results are really interesting. So just for all the panelists and myself, just so you all know as the audience, Apex Bike Factory is our first job for all of us. And we're wondering what you remember from your first job. And we're gonna have that go to the chat. Yeah, and if you guys could put that in the chat, please. So I believe we're having technical issues, so we'll move on from that. So I'm trying to think where to go from. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, thank you. So yeah, so we'll just go over a bit. So we're gonna go over a broad overview of what Apex Youth Connection is, just as we're having. And so what Apex Youth Connection is we serve all youth, grades 5 to 12, and we mainly serve the Biddeford-Saco area. But like I said, all youth are welcome, grades 5 to 12. Apex is based on the power of human relationships to connect to youth. And our core values are belonging, aspirations, lifelong skills, attitudes, and engagement. Our core programs, such as ABF, are at no cost to families. And our organizational values include respect, mentorship, service, personal responsibility, environmental appreciation, and inclusion. And our programs are after school, summer vacations, and Apex contracts with schools for programs community-based. I'm jumping over myself a bit. Programs are school summer vacations, and Apex contracts with schools for community-based academic programs. And our 3 service lines are adventure and exploration, leadership and empowerment, and job readiness. And now we've gone through all that. So now we're going to go for a overview of what ABF is. That is what our panelists and myself are here to represent today. So Brady.
It's different through
First level, kids are fixing up a bike that they get to take home, which introduces the structure and skills for ABF to them. At the next level, the youth complete a STEM course called Junior Mechanics that develop hard skills and understanding of the products and service.
Seems we're not alone in people having troubles getting in and out of the session here. Steve, I would keep rolling. I think you guys are doing a great job. I mean, you guys are answering questions in the chat, so
I lost
feel
connection
free.
to the. Yeah. So next, you would take a junior mechanics program to for communication, like mechanics, before ready for the interview. You would take the interview and do the interview and the application, and you make the program, and then once you're invited to mentor it until you to complete the tasks on your own, develop skills to work with customers.
Thank you, Sagan. So once you've made it into middle school ABF, you will then graduate into high school ABF once you've acquired all the required skills, or once you have successfully made it through, once you've made it through 8th grade and start your freshman year. And our high school team members can participate in the apprenticeship program, which is a program I recently started this year, just to help teach youth some more leadership skills, just so they can take positions such as our youth floor manager, youth inventory manager, as well as where am I missing something? And our or just youth manager. ABF leadership are all under the mentorship and guidance of staff here at Apex, and our volunteer mentors during non-COVID, obviously. And all Apex youth are working toward the Apex. And they reach it when they are connected with the community, have both personal and post-secondary plans, can recover from setbacks, and are actively engaged with taking care of the natural world. And the best way to explain what ABF is to show you all a video made for you all, so I hope you all enjoy it.
In the chat to see if they see the video.
Did we play the video? We all.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the video isn't playing currently, Melissa.
All right.
It doesn't seem it.
Okay, let's-
So, okay, we're gonna go to the panel discussion. All right. Technical difficulties. All right. So we're just gonna go to our panel discussion.
I love it.
So Brady, if you wouldn't mind starting us out with.
the most important thing for an employee? A, creativity, or B,
Why don't you discuss your answers to this question?
Yeah. So
Wow. Oh man, we're all getting booted.
okay. Yeah. All right. So just to check in the chat, did hear the first question presented by Brady?
No.
All right. I'll re-ask it since I wonder if it has something to do with the Chromebooks that you two are using.
So just you guys go ahead and answer the questions yourselves.
Yeah.
Discuss them and answer yourselves.
So we'll go back. So the first question was, what's the most important thing that you look for in an employee? So we'll discuss that amongst ourselves since we're having technical difficulties. Oh no, the poll was answered. Okay. So almost 55% said problem solving. And Brady, that answer, does that surprise you at all in any way? Oh, he's not in. Is Sagan still? Sagan, I'll ask. So Carly, I'll ask you since we're having technically does that surprise you? No?
Doesn't surprise me. I think that in the end, problem solving and creativity is more valuable than good communication in a work environment, because even if you can communicate well but not problem solve, you're probably going to get less done.
Our next question, and I'm just going to launch the poll early. Our next question is, what's the top behavior that would cause you not to keep an employee? Which is A, accountability, or B, bad attitude. And I will wait to, and for the panelists, if you guys could think on what your answer is. Yeah, I'll give the poll a few seconds or a few minute or two.
Stephen? There's the questions.
I want to finish up the questions. Just
So, all right, look at what the answers were to the poll. All right, so 55% of you guys said bad attitude would cause you not to keep an employee, and 44 not accountable. Say, you're in the call, so
Yeah.
I know. Say, what was your answer, and what do you think of the? What answer did you go with? I'll ask.
First, I would answer bad attitude, because good attitude that. But if they're rigid and not, not able to discuss each.
for answering. Carly, do you want to ask a question, our third question for this?
Three is a little different, so I would like you guys to answer in the chat because we don't have a poll for it. Question 3 is, what is the difference between a leader and a manager? And we'll wait a little bit for all the chat answers to come in.
So our first response, a leader has a vision. That's definitely, I can. Oh,
So yeah, I would agree with the fact that a leader has a vision. Kelly answers, a leader give folks space to and support to carry out a vision too. Definitely that I agree with that. Brady, what do you think about that?
so I'll answer since we're still having some technical. So I think the difference between a leader and a manager is a leader is someone who you will follow. You won't necessarily. It's not someone that's put in charge to follow you. It's someone you'll know to follow based on what they show and kind of just do. You'll know by their actions that they're a leader, versus a manager is someone that is very much put in that role and you're kind of required to follow that manager. We'll move on to question 4 now. The video is working right now. Perfect. So question 4. Which of these 2 questions would you most like to hear a potential employee ask? A, how is feedback given? Or B, look like? And I will put that poll up now. Oh, it's already open. And while you guys are putting your answers, Carly, if you were put in charge of asking, hiring someone, what would you look for in a question that an employee, a potential future employee would ask you?
I think I would definitely look for how feedback is given, because that shows that they understand that there's going to be a learning curve and they are willing to receive feedback and learn and get better.
Thanks for answering. And I'll ask Brady, what about you? What do you think?
I think I would like to hear, what does the training process look like, because I feel like that would show that they're interested in the job, and they want to know what they'd have to do the job, which is always a good thing.
Thank you. So it looks like 62.5% of you guys said how is feedback given, and 37.5% of you guys said what does the training process look like. Those are both. Yeah. So now we're going to move on to our video that we tried to show. Yeah, we'll move on to the video. So we're gonna move on to our video that we tried to show earlier, and I hope you guys enjoy.
Is this my time? All right, hold on. Let me share my screen and do that one. Can you see that? Aces. All right.
All right, so
No, what's going on? Okay. Audio everywhere.
don't mind our technical difficulties. I apologize for them. So we'll continue asking questions as we had started. So yeah, that just to explain, I don't know if it showed the whole video or not, but that was the video. That's what it looks like for most of the day in ABF. I don't think we didn't get to the interview portion, did we, of the video? Is there a link in the chat? Okay, so for those of you, as much as the video as we saw on this end, that's what a typical day looks like for the most part. Obviously, we didn't show the whole thing. but youth come in. We give them kind of instruction on what's going on for the day, and then they really go and do their job is the best way to explain it. So we're going to continue asking questions now. The video is over. So our next question is, what was that? Is it question 5? All right. So which of these do you think is more difficult to train for a new employee? A, to do the job, or B, caring about the work? We'll want that poll is open now. And for you three, why don't you guys think on that and what you guys think is more difficult to train just as mentors for the younger ABF members?
Teamwork and communication is more difficult to train because training the job is more cut and dry. You teach them a task, but teamwork and communication is a much more complicated life skill that takes a longer time to develop.
Carly for answering. Brady, hoping it's either first.
I think the job is
I'll paraphrase what you said. So Brady said it's a lot harder to train an employee how to do the job than it is to teach them how to care about the work. I do actually agree with that to some extent. So I don't really have to add on there. But just going off that, it is much harder, I think, to train an employee on the poll had teamwork and communication. I didn't realize that. Technically, it's a lot. Okay, so it is a lot harder to like for the teamwork and communication portion. Now that I'm looking at the poll, to teach that to an employee than actually do the job, because you can always teach the employee how to do the job, right? But if they can't communicate effectively, then well, you're not going to get the job done at all. So moving on to number 7. What is the best part about working? And it's either A, the money, or B, the pride. And for the panelists, if you guys could think on that, and Carly, if you wouldn't mind answering and give your why.
At least for me, the pride is probably the best part about working, probably because I am a child and don't need to pay taxes, so I don't need the money. But, you know, there is something of a confidence boost that comes with doing a job and doing it well.
Brady, what about you? Yourself. It looks like everyone chose B, pride. It seems most of our panelists agree with that. And there's definitely something to, as they're all saying, having the pride of the work. That is definitely the best part. When you know what you're doing, and even just going to work when you know you like what you do, that makes the job so much more enjoyable, and it gives you something to look forward to every day. So I believe that is all of our questions. So now I shall turn it over to, do we have any more questions? Oh, we have 2 more questions. This is, are they open-ended questions?
We have questions.
Okay, so all right, so we'll move on to Melissa, currently our background person, asking all of us as the panelists, including myself, some questions. So Melissa, I shall turn it over to you.
So I hope you can hear me because I can't hear. So hopefully you can. I am executive director with Apex and have the honor of working with these young people, especially in a situation like this. It's pretty exciting to see them on their feet and talk about resilience. Just look at this. It's pretty extraordinary. So we wanted to share a little bit about their experiences, which is why I'm doing the moderating of this piece. And so I want to ask you all, panel, how it feels to be given the power as a youth. How does that feel to you?
To me, it's a little liberating, I guess, because when I started at ABF, I was at an age where I couldn't really get many jobs. There wasn't a lot of options for what I could do independently, but coming to ABF, I was able to work independently, learn, do a job that I normally wouldn't have, and it was very empowering for someone who's, just taking the first steps and separating from the parents and becoming independent.
Anyone else?
I feel like having more power in the program definitely made me feel more engaged with the job I'm currently doing.
I'll have to say, kind of scary. I mean, I was kind of the youth manager for a few years, so I felt I always had a little more power for ABF. But because of necessity during COVID, really being given the power was definitely a scary experience. And it was an interesting thing to be a part of, to say the least.
Brady, do you want to comment or shall we go on? Okay. All right. So also wondering from you, panel, what has been really challenging about this?
I'd say one of the challenges of ABF, it was, at least for me, oh God, I can't do words right now. The most challenging bit about it for me was learning to manage myself in a work environment. The idea of a job readiness program obviously is to teach you this, but at first it was a little difficult for me to figure out how to motivate myself, get stuff done on my own without someone instructing me at every single turn. But the nice thing about ABF is that if I really needed help, there was always someone I could turn around to ask.
I'd have to say something that's been really challenging for me is when I first started, probably the communication and presenting myself professionally. That's definitely, I'd say every time I talk to someone when they want to go into a job, they say it's a challenge. And I would say, if you told me that 2 years ago, I really would say, that's kind of funny. And now, as I'm older, I realized that was really a challenge, presenting myself professionally along with communicating with my peers and my superiors.
Anybody else?
Yeah, something that's been a challenge for me is having to develop some new skills I didn't have before, especially with leadership and like mentoring and teaching skills. But I wasn't as good at before.
Okay. All right. So our next is wondering about where you feel like you've experienced victories. Where do you feel like you've experienced achievements in the program?
Go with developing as a leader. Just to give a really good example, my favorite example to give, and it's really relevant for today, but events like this, even though it's virtual, getting me to do something like this and really get a group of my peers and mentees to go along with doing this like me, I wouldn't be able to do this a few years ago, and now I feel very confident. Doing one of these events, going along myself and talking, and also bringing, of course, these three, and helping them prepare and mentor them to do some more leadership related activities.
I'd say a victory for me. Definitely felt like not too long ago I was offered a role in helping manage the shop, and that was huge for me because outside of ABF, I was a very reserved, shy person. I never considered myself much of a leader type, but with ABF, I was able to sort of step into a role of leading, and that was a huge victory for me.
A victory for me was I was able to do the budget. I would call that a victory because, I mean, how many kids my age do you hear of that do budgets?
All right. Let's look at the next question. I'm curious if you have felt any limitations because you're a youth within this experience. Are there times when you feel because you're a kid?
Definitely haven't felt like anything within the program has limited me because I'm a kid. I've definitely, with school and stuff, it's sometimes difficult to make it to the program and whatever, but the program itself has never made me feel limited just because I'm young.
I have to kind of go off. The program itself doesn't feel very limited. The only thing I would say is sometimes customers like myself as the youth manager, when a customer is like, yeah, I want to talk to the person in charge, and you're the person in charge, that's definitely a very, oops.
We have construction vehicles in the background here, so they're responding to that because, of course, we have to have construction vehicles, right?
Yeah, it's all on here, right? Yeah.
I have to say, when
or
people
something.
come in and they're saying they want to look for the person, like the adult that's in charge of the program, and you're kind of the overall person in charge of a lot of people. It's definitely really restricting. It feels kind of limiting when you have to explain it, but otherwise, other than, school, just as a high school student, there haven't been many limitations outside of the business portion of ABF.
Shall I go on?
Yeah.
What surprised you in your experience with ABF?
I think the whole experience was definitely a little surprising to me when I first joined because this is so differently run than any other clubs or anything that I have been involved in. So I came into it expecting something like a club where you're structured, you decide, someone is in charge and they decide what you're doing for that day. But you have so much more agency and so much more variety of things that you can do within ABF. Some days you come in and you're like, okay, I'm tired from school. I can just do something small. I can just clean up and I'm still getting work done, but I can decide what I want to do. So that surprised me, but it was a good surprise.
I'd say something that's surprised me in my experience is seeing youth, and not just myself, but previous youth managers actually being the actual manager for the youth. That's definitely a surprising thing, because you don't just we'll use like the Dunkin' Donuts or like a grocery store like Hannaford. You don't just walk in and see a 16, 17-year-old actually managing an entire basically business, versus here, for myself, it's surprising. I'm managing basically an entire business with the help of obviously the staff, but really it's all just youth run, which is definitely fascinating to see.
Yeah, something that definitely surprised me, especially when I was starting, is that it's a lot more challenging than it might be for some adults to go and commit to something that might not be a exciting, fun experience for multiple hours. So, and I've definitely on my ability to just go and do something, whether I like it or not, that it's going to be providing benefit.
All right, thank you all. I think the last question that I have on here is, how has it helped you? You can talk about at school or at home or in the community, just kind of in general. What do you think about that?
I know for me, at least, I think I mentioned this before in some of the other questions, the program definitely helped me step into some sort of confidence. It gave me a group of people that I could come to that I knew I would enjoy spending time with. It gave me tasks that I know I would enjoy spending my time on. And it helped me realize that I do actually have potential as a leader, that I'm a lot more outgoing than I thought I was. And it also was definitely a good experience to help me get my first real job this summer. I'm working at Gorham Bike and Ski, and I would have never have gotten a job there if I hadn't started working at Apex first.
I'd say ways it's helped me, I have two or three. The first one is like early, I got my first two jobs outside of ABF at two different bike shops. So the first one was Rogers Ski and Sport, and they hired me on. I'm to date, when they first hired me on, I was the youngest person to have started working there, only because I was the most qualified applicant, just right off the get-go, with both job experience and just skills. And then the other place I worked at, which was Kennebunk Port Bicycle, but that was because of my customer service skills.
Yes, I think you're right.
Keep going.
So, and then the second way it's helped me is a few of the past staff members here. One of them being Cliff Oliver, and one of my favorite mentors, Matt Perkins. For Matt, he helped me realize I love mentoring and teaching. Maybe not so much as to become a teacher, but I do like mentoring and teaching. And then with one of the other staff members, Cliff, he showed me that he helped me narrow down some career stuff for myself. So he's probably the biggest reason I chose to join the military, and very specifically the Army National Guard, which is definitely interesting to think about.
would you like to share, or would you be willing to share your, as a senior in high school, what your next steps are, your aspirations, kind of long-term?
So, kind of my long-term goal is military. So I'll be shipping out to basic training this summer. I'll be gone for my basic is 2.5 months, and I have my MORS training, which is going to be interesting. But once I'm done with all my training for the military, my plan is to come back. I want to come back here to Apex. I love working here. I love working with the youth. It's definitely a great experience. But while I'm here, if I'm working or volunteering, I want to go to college to get my bachelor's in mechanical engineering and then a master's in biomedical engineering. And then go from there and try to get a career outside of the military and engineering.
I didn't, and Brady, the opportunity to talk about how the program has helped you. I didn't mean to cut you off on that.
Yeah, well, for me, beyond the leadership and mentoring skills that I've gotten some certifications for Shimano, which will likely be beneficial in the future towards some bike-related jobs.
I would say it's helped me. I've had 2 jobs since, and when I tell them that it seems like they have a good reaction, because it also like customer service and stuff. Definitely help it things get those jobs and stuff.
That's great. Thank you all very much. Stephen, I'll turn it back over to you.
So to our Q&A session, we would like to hear, just myself, we'd like to hear some questions that you have for us, specifically any of the panelists, myself, and just anything. And if any of you want to ask Melissa any questions, just put them in the Q&A area, and we'll get to as many of them as we can.
And as we're waiting for those to populate, I'll just take a minute to share with you how COVID precipitated part of this. So ABF, and some of the other youth have mentioned, has always been a very youth-focused, youth-oriented. A lot of the power was already with the youth, but restrictions under COVID and the limitations on how many youth allow into programs and how much staff had, and just so many different variables that were not in the equation before, we found that we really stretched thin and we needed help, and we needed to, we wanted very much to keep everything going as robustly as it was before, but we just didn't have youth, and just talk to them about it and start handing pieces over. And they not only graciously accepted the responsibility, we will never go back. Let's put it that way. It will always be this way, precipitated by COVID or not. It showed us so much about their ability and their competence and confidence, and how important that is within the program, and building their confidence, and how much more so that is facilitated by sharing the power with you. And I have a question here for me. From my perspective, and keep in mind, so I have the good fortune of actually working with these young people on a daily basis, but I will say because Apex is a smaller organization, I do have the opportunity to get to know them a little bit. And I'd say that our learnings, staff, by giving them power, first and foremost, that they can handle it, that perhaps they underestimate abilities and their competence. A lot of these tasks that are typically by adults and by staff, but they have proven to us, need to prove to us, and they're seeking more, and so they can do it. I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons that we've had through this. Also, that continued support piece. And sometimes it can feel overwhelming, and building that sense of belonging and that sense of team and that sense of being part of something bigger, I think is also really an important component. So thank you for the question. Oh, here's can you all see the question?
Yeah.
That other members of ABF have actually been very helpful resources in helping me figure out long-term education and career goals. I know that definitely Stephen in specific has been able to provide a lot of insight on things moving forward. He's recommended me jobs. It's been a lot of help just having people who are sort of running a same or similar path, but a little bit ahead of you to give you pointers, I guess.
Anyone else have a comment on that?
I guess.
The question got dismissed, but resource-wise,
What was that? Okay.
So I guess for people and resources I've been most helpful to me, definitely the staff here. I'm currently a staff member, but before I was, all the staff are very supportive people, and I'd say very helpful in pointing all of us as youth in a direction that could help us. So for myself, I obviously want to go to college to be an engineer. So I think Melissa a few weeks ago had brought something up to me just as an example. And it's definitely, I think, something that's very helpful as a youth to just know that some of the staff can just point you in the direction for something. And then resources for Apex, having a place to really put a lot of we got the
More construction.
So resource-wise, the actual facility has given me a place to skills I'd say I may have learned outside of Apex. I've actually been able to put them into practice here. So writing a resume, right? There's a class in my high school called JMG, but actually working on that resume more, adding on to it here has been really helpful, and getting to present it to people that can critique it and bring me through an interview process has been a really good experience for myself, I would say.
These questions, please bring them on. Oh, go ahead. If you see one, go ahead, read. Here, I see. Sorry.
Right-hand side there.
There we go. Now, can you all see it? Oh, it's for me. Apologies. What do you learn from working? Oh, that's the first. Okay. There it is. Okay. So that's your question, guys, I think.
Yeah, that's a question. So, as you were looking for where to work, volunteer. So what
as I'm looking, the most important thing to me is the people. I want to say, I'd like to say it's the values of the like organization or whatever it is, but it's definitely the people. The people there are, I'd say, an important part of what makes any work, volunteering, or just participating in the program very important. Because you can have a great program, and I won't lie about that, that is fun to participate in. But if you don't have people that, we'll say that actually want to give to the program, like actually work with participants or whatever, or even with a job, if the people there aren't I want to say not looking forward to the job, but not looking forward to their day, and they kind of bring the atmosphere down, then it's not something I want to say is an enjoyable experience for anyone. So again, definitely the people for myself.
I agree with that. You can have a program that's run perfectly, but if there's unpleasant people, it's not going to be as fun. You can have a program that's like disorganized but has fun people, and you're gonna have more fun with the fun people. So I definitely think that I'm just looking for an environment that's, you know, inclusive and a little more easygoing personally, because I don't work super well in rigid structures, but mostly just, yeah, friendly people, flexibility, fun.
Grady or Sagan, do you want to answer?
I think for me, a big factor is having a skill I can learn that's obtainable, at a goal, keep moving forward. Because I'm working on bikes, and that's been really beneficial.
Any other questions? Thank you all again. Questions? Yeah, I think so.
All questions. Thank you all for attending this. I know it was really, it was kind of a ride of all the technical stuff, but thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure to speak to all of you. I can speak for myself. I really enjoyed being able to actually talk about Apex more, even though it was centered around talking about ABF and how the youth run it. I really did enjoy being able to talk to people and just show what we do here. So, yeah, I'm not gonna end.
If I can add quickly, if you did not have the opportunity to watch the video, it does have sound. So if sound at the end, there's an interview with one of the middle schoolers who's a 7th grader, and it's an awesome video, and the kids did it. So like, if you didn't get a chance to see it, so I can be reached at director@apexyouthconnect.org, and I would love to share it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. The video is linked in the chat as well. So
Thank you all.
yeah, thanks to all the panelists. Really appreciate it. We have a couple more sessions coming up this afternoon. Everyone here did an amazing job considering what we're going through. And there's a survey for the session that you can use, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Thank you, Gabe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We can stay out for a second.